Good morning. Good morning,
Morning,
Stu.
Bill.
Welcome to NAB 2016. Welcome to the Autodesk booth.
It's a bit thin on the ground, though, isn't it? 9
I
o'clock.
can see
Come
there's
on.
a lot of people filing in. They look a little groggy from last night.
How are you?
How are you feeling?
Well, we've talked about this, haven't we?
Yeah,
I think we both know.
I think you're gonna,
Yeah.
power through and make it.
I love your confidence.
Yeah. So we have some. We want to start the day with some really exciting news. We announced this back in November, but some people may have missed some of the details of the announcement. So we thought we would go back and sort of revisit some of those.
Yeah. So we're going to take the opportunity this morning just to have a bit of a recap on what's happened since the end of last year, and also have a little bit of a preview of what we're going to be looking at today as well as we go along. But first thing, I think we should talk about the Flame Unleashed, what that actually means, the accessibility of this. So like Bill was saying, last year, around about October time, we made a drastic change to the way that we sell and provide you with our software. And the reason for this was we just want to try and make it more accessible for people to get their hands on. So this covers the entire Flame family. So it's going to be Flame, Assist, Flare, and Luster. And essentially what we're doing is we are giving you different options on how to obtain this a little bit more readily, a little bit more freely. So new subscription plans for all of our products for Flame. NAB platform choice, so you can run in the entire Flame family on either a Linux or a Mac platform, which is really good. Flare and Flame Assist for everyone. So kind of what that means is, remember when we had this last year before the change, is that we were kind of selling Flame on a hardware system, and you had to have a Flame to get access to these other two great bits of software. So we're just unlocking that now. Anybody can get any piece of software regardless of what they kind of own. And the entire Flame family available as software only. And that's quite an important thing.
Let's start with the subscription plans.
Yeah.
So we've got annual, of course. We've got quarterly and monthly. So giving people more options as to how they want to potentially deploy the software, scaling up and down as projects grow.
I mean, you're always going to get facilities that always want to have a Flame in there permanently. But there's times when you have to grow or shrink depending on the projects you get in. And the quarterly and the monthly just gives you a little bit more flexibility. It's also really good for freelancers as well. Be able to get their hands on those products, just do a particular job, and they can keep their costs really low. And once again, the choice of a Linux or Mac platform. And this is really to do with how your facility is kind of set up. Okay, big established facilities are probably going to more favour the Linux. It's more extensible, it's more flexible in a pipeline for people to do stuff with. But accessibility. We want people to be able to get hold of the software, and the Mac is a great choice just to be able to go into an Apple store, grab a Mac, run your software. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to prefer one over the other. It's just to say that, a lot of our customers have large pipelines.
Yeah, sure.
The Linux platform's very scalable, very pipelinable.
And these things, it's portability. People take these on set, or, they're working from home, or maybe they just kind of rock into town one day, and they can bring their system with them, do some work or pick up some work for a client, go home again. So it's really good. So, Flare and Flame Assist for everyone. So it's probably a good idea to kind of really just talk about what the difference in these two products is, isn't it?
Yeah. So think of Flame as having everything, all these amazing tools, a lot of incredible capabilities to do all your finishing work, and Flare and Flame Assist as being sort of two parts of the software that have been pulled out so that juniors or assistants can be doing some of the work and then feeding that back into the Flame system.
Yeah, exactly.
So Flare being the procedural compositing area of Flame, pulled out, node-based, allows you to do a lot of heavy lifting on individual shots. And then Flame Assist is fantastic for conforming, editing, versioning.
Or even those lighter jobs, And these two options here, are, once again, I think are really good for kind of like freelancers. If the freelancer pick up mainly sort of shop-based work, Flare's a good thing. If they're doing more of their own kind of, end-to-end deliveries, maybe something like a Flame Assist. So it's a good option, So software only. So like we just sort of said, the option of running this on either a Linux platform or a Mac platform. But of course, this is also good for our resellers and our partners. They now have the ability to, spec out machines according to our specifications for people, or even if you feel a bit more daring, sort of kind of build your own. It's
Many more options. That's the point of all this.
Many more options. More options than you can shake an option stick out. So, Flame on OS X. So this is the really big thing. So first time you're able to run Flame on a Mac platform on OS X. And so literally, like you were saying, Flame is everything. So all the creative tools, all the editorial tools, absolutely everything, including the I'm going to say world-renowned desktop as well, way of organising it. And once again, we've got some examples around here on the booth. Go and have a look on the pods. It's really a great experience. It's a great piece of software to work on. And once again, having it available on that platform really sort of unlocks things for us. So this is a great example of, potentially if you're in a post house, sort of like a small or mid-tier, how you could take advantage of those kind of subscription offerings to better manage your profits, your expenditure, and also the people that are coming into work.
Yeah, it's a great kind of a use case of how you might walk through a project using the new subscription model. So you may start out with a single license, conforming the job, sort of working out the details of the storytelling.
And it can kind of, from there, you can start to, as your project progresses through, if you want to, you can kind of grow the licenses you need to complete those different phases of the job, which is kind of really quite nice. You may always have 1 or 2 annual subscriptions, but you may need to, as the job progresses through, as you go to different stages, you may just need a piece of software for a month or maybe a quarter just to do some specific tasks.
Or the deadline, is
Deadlines.
coming. And so you may want to say, okay, we need to bring on more work, more people. And you can have 2 people working in parallel, grading, compositing, and then, of course, move to your finishing stage.
And, of course, just sort of round things off with maybe like a Flame license, just to pull everything together, do those last-minute tweaks, because, you've got the whole tool set of everything that's before it. It's kind of a great way of doing, and also then you're delivering and you're versioning off afterwards. So, it's just a more sensible way. And we've got, I come from London, we've got a lot of post houses in the sort of like small, medium size that are taking advantage of exactly this offering. Okay, and it's working really well for them. So this is kind of a bit of a preview of what we're going to see today, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah, these are the 3 deeper dive demos we're going to have with Flame and Luster, or being part of the Flame family. So Stewie's going to, after this presentation, come over to this workstation where you see the 2 monitors, and he's going to show you this amazing new workflow that we have called Connected Color. So again, being able to work, accessing all the tools concurrently in Flame.
Yeah.
And then there's also a great commercial post example from Envy in London that Joe's going to show a bit later, which we're going to show off a lot of the new features in Flame. We call it kind of the What's New demo of Flame. And then we also have a very cool broadcast example coming from Reveal 42 in New York for this job they did for Showtime using Flame and Maya together. Some exciting new motion graphics tools in Maya that we're kind of highlighting in that presentation. But the point here is Flame is used in a multitude of ways in a lot of different markets. Yeah. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Obviously, there's way more use cases, but these are the ones we thought we'd highlight this week.
And we've got some speciality ones where we've got some guest speakers today talking exactly how they use those products in those particular pipelines as well. So we always like to have a little bit of a recap. It's always healthy to kind of look a little bit backwards to see what we've done over the years. And, all of this has only really been possible by the decision to, like you're saying, it's a 20-year-old piece of software. We knew we had to do some drastic things in here to make all of this possible. So, back at IBC in 2012, we released the 20th anniversary edition. And then through the years, through the releases, we've incrementally put all these bits and pieces in, all this sort of pipeline connectivity, all these tools, bringing us right up to where we are today. With Flame 2017, with our new camera effects and physically based rendering inside of Action, which sort of joins a lot of the dots when we started to introduce things like Matchbox, then Lightbox, and now we've got camera effects, the connected conform, the connected color workflow we've got. So it's nicely progressed, through from that initial release through to where we are today.
And at this point, I mean, you have to realize the entire software was rewritten to take advantage of GPU acceleration. Exactly. So at that point, that opened the door to a lot of other really cool things that we could bring into the software because the foundational work had been done.
Well, yeah, and it sort of lays the basis now for, hopefully like another 20 years of the software as well. This is a good thing. So, Obviously, we've got a new release. So these are kind of like the big ticket items. These are the ones that we're kind of like shouting about at this particular show. Should we alternate, Bill?
We could do that.
Oh, you can go first.
Okay, so connected conform. Stewie mentioned this before. If you've been a flame artist for a while, you may have had situations, especially when you are dealing with multiple versions, you always are going to produce a 60-second version, a 30-second version, maybe even a 15-second version. There's a lot of times when you're using the same content, and rather than manually having to drag and drop iterations into other versions, this is a really amazing way of kind of holding all of your versions open and live at the same time, manipulating something, perhaps an effect or something in one, or color correction in one shot, and then just distributing it automatically connected in a connected way to the other places.
Great tool for people doing commercials, versioning, language versions, that kind of thing. Connected color workflow, we're going to have a look at that a little bit later on, but pretty much the same premise as what we're doing with conforming. A very unique way of linking two products together to give, well, a unique interaction, to be quite honest. Now, you've got the full grading set of Luster, and you've also got the full gamut of creative tools inside of Flame, and you can run the applications at the same time. It's really quite kind of groundbreaking for sure. Post-processing, Bill?
Yeah, so action is really the brain of the system. You're going to see Stewie using that a lot in the next presentation. But what happens in there is a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of heavy compositing. There's been some really groundbreaking new tools, Lightbox, Matchbox. You'll see a bit of that. But what we really see here is a lot of the power tools that are used to doing all the sweetening and finishing.
Exactly. Well, it's the bit that makes Flame, isn't it?
Exactly.
In some respects. And lastly, usability. So, every year it's no good just doing, features and features and features. We've got to make the software usable, people using this day in, day out for their living. So usability is always a big bucket list of stuff that people say, can you kind of fix that? Could you make this better? And every release we've been sort of mopping up on those small, annoying things.
There's always a list.
There's always a list. So a quick recap, Connected Conform. Once again, quite a unique way of working with your editorial across multiple sequences. Connected color workflow, won't say too much about that because we're going to be looking at it straight after this.
Right.
3D scene-based digital effects. So this is Matchbox inside of Action. This is camera effects. This is giving you a lot more access to creative tools. It's taking advantage of some Stingray technology that we've got. So game engine driven.
Game engine, so it's super fast.
This one's worth dwelling on a little bit more. So we're kind of talking about the changes to the render inside of Action. When we start hooking up these different shades to Action, changing the behavior of how Action starts to render, and the sheer quality and the performance of what you're getting in the viewport with our live preview now. What you see is what you get rendering, real-time motion blur, real-time depth of field, all made possible from that technology that we've acquired from Stingray. It's really good. And once again, it's all kind of pointless unless the usability around everything else makes the system. Okay, so little tweaks. The desktop is unique to Flame, as it were, the real system of organising your media, the way that we can start dealing with media, the archiving system. All these things we kind of take for granted because we've been using it for so long. But for new users, I think it's kind of quite an eye-opener. It's certainly a compelling thing to look at Flame.
Yeah, the navigation is very important.
So, talking of connecting things, because we talked about connecting things quite a lot, we acquired a little company called Shotgun a few years ago. And Shotgun we thought was a really good way to start hooking together not only our own products, but products for other vendors as well, okay? Because everybody uses different things. You drive what do you drive? Do you have a Ford?
I don't own a car.
You don't own a car?
No.
My God.
I know.
Have you got electric and gas and
Lived
stuff?
in New York too long.
Anyway, so Shotgun is an asset tracking system, and it kind of works really well in facilities, sort of gluing things together. It's a way, well, actually, we're just going to have a look. So this bit is Flame in a shotgun-aware pipeline, okay? Now, what does that exactly mean? Because, words are kind of sort of cheap, as it were. So if you want to read through all that, that is a good technical explanation of what that means. And
that's a bit of an eye chart.
Yeah. And there's no commas. My punctuation is well awful. So what we're going to do
something else.
is we're going to look at a very simplistic graphical representation of how Shotgun actually works, okay? And the main thing about this is the way that we've very quickly integrated Flame into that. So Flame can now kind of sit into that whole pipeline experience when you're using other applications, other software, and you want to manage a whole project.
Yeah, I think this is really important. I see a couple Flame artists in the audience. This is important when you're thinking about working in collaboration with all the other people in your facility. Shotgun's an amazing project management tool that keeps everybody in sync. And I think what's great about this video or these examples you're going to see from Stuart is it really, at a very granular level, explains how it all works, especially with Flame and Flare and Maya, as well as Nuke.
Because if you look at it on the face of it, it's quite a complicated thing. I think what we've done here is we made it a very simple process to understand. So essentially, if you think on that side, this is your local storage. This is your storage inside your facility. We've got a Shotgun project in the cloud, and we've got a whole bunch of applications that are running on this particular project. Now, all of these workstations, they have a thing called Toolkit installed, Shotgun, which by and large automates the process of when we're doing things inside these applications, updating the project, and kind of letting everybody know what has actually been done in the system. So when anybody does anything on the workstation, the project gets updated, people are notified. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to initially start from Flame. So there's kind of 3 people working in this workflow. There's me, kind of working on the wiggly Flame. There's going to be Morgan, who's going to be doing some stuff on Maya. And then there's Joe a bit later on, who's going to be doing some stuff on Flare. So initially, the first stage that we're going to do in here is going to use Flame to kind of manage our timeline for this commercial. So Flame is going to kind of be launched through the Shotgun desktop loader. So this is my project. These are all my available applications. And as soon as you start launching these applications through Shotgun, Shotgun is aware of what you're doing, those applications, and the media and the assets that you then start to generate. Okay? So first stage here, we're going to use our connected conform. We're going to sort of trundle off. We're going to go and find some EDLs to conform here. Bring those in. Have a look at this. We're going to go and find the media that matches those. All sitting kind of them. And we're going to use a conforming module now based on match criteria to then associate that media with all of those events. Now, once we've got this, once we've got all of our media linked, we're going to go through a couple of processes to then let Shotgun know that we've been doing some stuff inside of Flame. So you can see that all these segments, they all have the original source time codes and tape names. And what we're going to go through is we're going to standardize all the naming convention by using a thing called rename shot. Now, we've got a whole bunch of tokens that we can use. In this particular case, we're going to use a default background index. You can see all the shots have now been sequentially numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can call them whatever you want. Now, from there, the next thing we want to do is we want to let Shotgun know a couple of things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to publish out the entire edit for review and approval. So we'll make sure the editorial is good before we start doing some stuff. And after that, we're going to take each of those individual shots and we're going to publish those out as physical media to our local storage and also update the cloud project to let everybody know that we've been doing some things. Now, once we've got this, you can see that we get what we call a return publish. We've still got the original edit underneath, but the new layer on top is essentially Shotgun aware now. So Shotgun knows that we've done something, but the most important thing about this is that those segments can now contain multiple versions of the work that we do. So back out in our pipeline, this is kind of what's happened. We've done the conform, we've published some stuff out. Flame has pushed the actual physical media back to your local storage in your facility, but then it's updated the Shotgun project. So what we can do is in the Shotgun project, we can open this up in various ways. We're going to use Firefox to have a quick look in the web browser, and we're going to see how that exactly looks in the case of your web page. So the easiest way to kind of describe Shotgun.
And there's Stewie.
Right there's Stewie. That's an old picture. Or I'm just getting old, one of the two.
It looks like
so
you.
It's very much a little bit the same sort of concept as sort of like Facebook. Okay, we've got a project. We've got things we're going to be follow. We can see some people working on this. We can see some shots and some assets. And from an administrator's point of view, I can then start to deal out tasks to other people that I'd like them to do. So here's some shots. These are the people that are associated with this particular project. What I want to do now is start the ball rolling by saying I need somebody else to make me up a new squishy pack in Maya. And then when the squishy pack in Maya has been made up, I need somebody to start adding that into the comp. In our Media Hub, this is a really great way where we can review anything that has been done within Shotgun, okay? This is what our publish to review looks like. It's a whole timeline. We've got annotation tools. You can leave notes. It's a real-time player. This is kind of sitting up in the cloud. This is the stuff we kind of published out as a quick time. And what's nice about this is that, anybody who's associated with this job can start leaving comments which then get populated to anybody else that's associated with this particular job or shot or project. The next thing I like to do, though, is I like to get this approved by my client before I go any further. So what's kind of cool about this is I can make a playlist of this shot or many shots. And directly inside of here, I can say I want to share that out to a dedicated client review site. And you can customize these client review sites as you want to. You can make it very personal. You can attach extra media or messages to this. But what I'm actually asking for is saying, does this look okay? Can you give me the go or the no-go? Security and permissions we're really concerned about here. So there's a whole bunch of ways that the client can only access it, only then, maybe only for a certain period of time. And once we've published that out, they get an email link to that. We can go back and start assigning some tasks. So what I want to do is I want to go to my shots, and I'm going to pick out a particular shot here that I want some work to be done. And I want some work to be done inside of Maya and inside of Flare. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create some tasks for people to do. So I want, this is what I want to do. I want to create a new pack. This is going to be an animation task. I'm going to assign it to a particular person in the facility. And I'm going to say, this is how long you've got to do it for. When you start doing this, you start then populating this production Gantt chart. So once again, from a producer or director or facilities manager's point of view, they can very easily start coordinating multiple people to get things done. So we've got 2 tasks there, one for Morgan, one for Joe. Joe can't start his until Morgan's done his little thing on Maya. So what's going to happen now is that after we've reviewed all that, and Morgan has got his notification, he is going to now look at his login and see what he has to do, particularly for this day. And once again, we're going to use our local media storage, and that's going to provide the reference for what he has to do. And Morgan is now going to come and start looking at his page. There's Morgan. So you can see here that he's going to get a little note in his inbox. It's kind of like an email thing saying, can you sort some things out in this task? And he goes, yeah, sure, I'll get that notification back. He says that this task is now in progress. He's going to look at, how long that's going to take him to do. Here's a particular shot he needs to do. He can see this. He's going to update his status now. It's in progress. And he's going to now launch this particular shot through, once again, the Shotgun desktop loader. Right? He's going to launch Maya. Now, when he goes in, there's a dedicated panel inside of these applications when you're running through Shotgun, which is like a Shotgun menu. So you're a loader, a publisher, an importer. And what he's doing here is he's using that Shotgun panel to load in assets and objects into Maya without even having to go look for them, okay? Because once again, it's tracking where these things are. So he's brought in his FBX from using the Shotgun loader. He's doing a little bit of sculpting work inside of here using some of the new Maya sculpt tools that we've got here. All very nice. And the next thing he's going to have to do from there, he's going to have to texture it for me, okay? I've asked him to make a new pack, new texture, and then when that's done, kind of notify the next person in that stage, that pipeline, that they are ready to start. So he's doing all the typical sort of 3D things. He's got to sort out some UVs here because some of the stuff is kind of flipped. Go to UV editor, just wiggle some things around, just do some scaling. Once that's done, he needs to then get this back out into the pipeline and make everybody aware that some stuff has happened. So what we have here, once again, our Shotgun menu, we can now take those assets, we can now take those objects that we've done and publish them physically back into the pipeline, back into the storage, but also update the other people that are associated with this job or this task that he's completed his part. Does a little snapshot, says this is all good, new texture, tweak the model, publish this out. So now Shotgun is kind of controlling where this is sitting in the directory structure, so you don't have to go and look for it. Once again, you can see that on his landing page, had a bit of an update. He's going to go to his task. He's going to say that mine is done, that's final. And he's saying to Joe, you're ready to go. The pack has all been done. Okay? So once again, nobody's emailed or picked up the phone or put a little post-it note on the monitor. This has all been handled by this pipeline tool. So, as before, Maya is going to throw this out to the storage. It's going to update all the Shotgun projects. Everybody's going to kind of get notification. And then the next thing from there, we're going to see Joe kind of log into his user, see what task he's got associated with. But also what we're going to do is we're going to see how, when he's completed his task, how all this updates in my Flame timeline, okay, automatically, which is kind of like the real sort of killer feature, as it were. So this is my colleague Joe. He's going to be logging in. He's going to be checking his landing page for this particular project. So he's up here. This is him. You can have artists associated with multiple projects at once. It's not just the one thing. He's going to go in here. He's going to see that I've sent some stuff off for approval. Morgan's finished some 3D packs. He's going to get notification on that as well. He's then going to pop up to his inbox. This is the task that I set him. He's going to use that to go to his task, look at some of the information about the task, when is it got to be accomplished by, other bits and pieces, who assign it to him. And this time he's going to launch this shot directly into Flare from the web browser. So this is a second way that we can actually launch this application. What's nice about this is that when that happens, it's a setup that has already been pre-configured by Shotgun. Okay, the media is in there. There's a write file that is going to write it back to the correct place in the directory structure and automatically increment the version as it does so. So all Joe really has to do is then just worry about what he's got to do his task, which is going to be compositing. So he's going to go and find that FBX in the file system that got published out by Maya. You can see here it's just a bit of a clay model. Going to throw a light on. Eventually in this we're going to use some of our new PBR tools to sort of relight and make this pack look a little bit more realistic. And he's going to go and once again find the texture that Morgan published out, and he's going to associate that texture with that particular pack. So what we get very quickly is we get a 3D asset with a texture that we now got in our compositing environment. Okay, it all looks kind of good. Now, of course, what we want to do is actually composite that against the original. We're going to do a pack replacement in this particular case. So we're going to move on one step here. We did something that's kind of pre-built. And you can see here, using all the new tools, all the new camera effects, we get a really nice, realistic look. Okay, so this is going to save you a load of time if you're used to rendering things out in 3D and it, motion blur and that kind of thing. It takes a long time. This is a far more efficient way of dealing with this stuff. We're going to match a pack in. Really simple task for Flame. We're just going to do a quick 2-point track for position and rotation. And you're going to see that, and you're going to see that very quickly when we hook that up, we have a squidgy pack that kind of matches the original squidgy pack, but with some different textures on it. Last thing Joe has to do is then write that back out into the file system again. So he doesn't have to change anything here. He literally just has to hit render. He's going to add a little note to this. There's going to be a little quick time uploaded to the Shotgun project as well. And everybody gets informed about what has happened in that pipeline since Joe's been working on it. So the final stage of this is, how does this work in practice? The nice thing about this is that we've been showing it very singularly, but you've got to imagine you can have a huge facility and everybody can be doing something at any one time. And all Shotgun is managing those assets, it's tracking things, it's keeping people informed. If you were to do this as a producer by your own, emailing people, looking at quick times, you'd be in a right state. Okay, so this really helps. So we're going to loop all the way back round to Flame now. So all these things that have been done, I've still been sitting in Flame, doing some compositing, doing some more editorial. But what's really nice about this is that when I go back into Flame, we now have a panel that sits inside the application that can actually, without me going to a web browser, show me all the things that have been going on. It's like a quick look panel. You can see Joe's done some stuff and some notifications. You can see that I can see all the notes and versions and tasks and info. It's like a quick peek version of the big web browser, right? So I can see that some stuff has changed. He's done the pack. It's all good for me to go. And I'm going to look at my timeline, and we've got a visual indication now that something has happened on that shot. We've got a white border. We've also now got a change in up here as well. So you can see that we've got the original version, and now we've got version 1, which Joe has done. And that's automatically been put into the timeline for me. Now, when I'm happy with that, I can just mark that as being viewed, and then I can go on and further propagate that process inside of Flame by creating another new version, which will automatically increment inside the Shotgun pipeline. So here I'm going to do something very basic. I'm going to go and find another texture. There was a version 2 of the texture that we had. Another Photoshop file. It's significantly different from the first one. So you can see it's a bit yellow. There's
different
flowers,
flavor of the
different flavor of moist tissue wipes.
Tissue paper.
Yeah. Don't make me laugh. Just by changing the texture, that just ripples through the setup that's already been built. The only thing that I have to do is hit the render button to return that back out to the Shotgun pipeline and to update my timeline that is being held in Flame. You can see here, this has been automatically incremented to version number 2. Once again, I'm going to let everybody know that I've actually done something. So this will get up, this will get populated out to the Shotgun network, all the people that are associated with this. And what I'll get back in the Flame timeline now is a segment that has multiple versions associated with it. So you can see here, this has been updated. I can mark that up as viewed again because I know that I've just done this. And then in my versions, you can see I've got version 2, version 1, and the original version. So it's a really elegant way of coordinating multiple applications, multiple people on a job. We're going to look at the final playout for this particular piece.
Je comprends pas. Avant, on me nettoyait les fesses avec quelque chose d'humide. Et maintenant, seulement avec du papier de toilette tout sec. Pourquoi les adultes n'utilisent pas du papier de toilette humide en plus du sec pour avoir les fesses aussi propres que celles d'un bébé? Nouveau papier de toilette humide Lotus. Propreté et fraîcheur.
And Derek Moore, at Coffee and TV, whose job this is, he's going to come along and talk about Shotgun in a bit more detail on how Coffee and TV actually use this in production on jobs such as that.
And he'll also talk about how they did the lip
The
replacement.
mouth,
Yeah.
because actually the mouth replacement was a morph from various actors talking different languages.
The little kid didn't speak
French.
So
And he actually did speak.
just a couple of quick takeaways. Great job, Stu, explaining all of the workflow there. But the two takeaways from me is really, flame artists have typically traditionally owned the job. They used to, conforming everything, fanning out the different tasks. But in this workflow, Shotgun does the management of the tasks and the notifications and keeping everybody in sync. So I think that's a huge benefit. And then from an owner's point of view, a supervisor's point of view, it's much easier for billing. You know how much time was spent on each of these tasks. So it's really a win-win for everybody. So thank you very much, Stu. I appreciate that, especially with you being a little under the weather today.